So the biggest challenge for me with most golfers is they don't understand how you need to deliver the loft of the club back to the golf ball in order to maximize that ball speed and maximize that accuracy. So this 7-iron I've got in my hands, TaylorMade P790s, 30 degrees of loft. But what you see with the best players in the world is they almost halve their loft at impact, whereas a lot of club golfers do de-loft, but don't de-loft nearly as much. So what I'll see with a lot of amateur golfers is they'll set up pretty well to the golf ball, but when they hit the shot, they'll de-loft the club a little bit, and I've turned my 30-degree 7-iron into 22 degrees. But when we watch the videos back, and particularly when I do video analysis with golfers, we'll tend to see at address maybe there's a little bit of shaft lean, but by the time they get back to the golf ball, there's almost none. Very occasionally it's actually leaning back, adding loft, or just a tiny little bit of shaft lean. But the best players in the world, you see from a tiny bit of shaft lean at address, they'll have lots and lots of shaft lean. So like I said, they're almost halving the loft on their iron. And anytime you present less loft, you're going to increase ball speed. So I think a great little drill for golfers to do is actually from address to rehearse where they'd like the club to be at impact. So a lot of people say, well, I know my hands need to be forward. Now the only problem with that is as soon as I move my hands forward, that club face points over to the right hand side. The ball's obviously going to miss that way. And then what a lot of golfers will do to try and do that, they'll say, but the loft's not really gone down, distance hasn't gone up at all, and that's just way offline. So if you are enjoying today's video and really wanted to work one-to-one with me, I've got some limited spaces available for my online coaching. Pop across to my website and I'll pop a link up in the top left corner, but in the description below, alitaylorgolf.com. Get in touch, we'll work together and we'll get you playing better than ever before. So it's how we create getting those hands in front that's key. So what I would say to a lot of golfers is, from that address position, what we want you to do is you want to feel like you move your lower body towards the target, maybe 3-4 inches towards the target, and we can see that starts to kind of open that club face up. But then the hips wouldn't still be square. We'd want that left hip, the pocket on the back, to almost be so I could see it down the line. And we can see down the line, that's great, but even face on now, lots of shaft lean and that club face nice and square. So I always think, get there, rehearse that feel. 2 or 3 times. And it's really a very different sensation for a lot of golfers. And then hit some shots. Now, the first thing I would say, if you're on a driving range and there's no data, you're trying to get the ball to launch a little bit lower to begin with. I think because a lot of golfers are so obsessed with trying to get the ball in the air and get underneath the golf ball, that everything about that is hanging back, the club overtaking the hands, and just destroying any chance of hitting it a long way. So we've done a few rehearsals, and we're then going to feel like we take a bit of speed out, but really focus on move the lower body ahead and move out of the way. Now it's a little bit thin, but even with the miss hit there, launching obviously low at 9.5 degrees, carrying 132, total 153. So I think it can take a bit of practice, because if you are a golfer who's back here, even when you're putting a ton of speed in, we see 26.5 mile an hour, 132 carry, 134 total, which is not a winner. And there might be golfers out there who say, I'd love to hit it 132, but if you can do this movement and get that rehearsal of shifting towards, then opening up, then repeat the swing. So I didn't quite halve the loft there, but got it down from 30 to 16, 159 carry and 171 total. And straight away, that'll be a game changer. I mean, I said 20 yards at the start, but that's huge, 30, 35 yards pickup. Actually, by putting less into the golf swing, but just being a more efficient delivery of the golf club. So I said I'm going to try and get to half. So I want to get to 15 for me. So I'm going to maybe need to feel like I go even more that way before I open up. So again, not quite half, 16.1, 170 carry and 179 total. And to be honest, it's not just how far they're going. The strike feels incredible. It's out in the middle of the golf club, even those high ones were. And I actually had a session this morning with an old school friend who was very, very open club face and would deliver the club that way to try and strike it. As soon as we actually worked on this drill, he just said that he felt it was a completely different strike. The strike location was the same, but the energy he was able to get from the club into the ball was dramatically different. Now, we did see over 20 yards with him. We didn't see that big a pickup, but it was easy 20 yards. So once again, we're going to rehearse the feel, get much more towards the target with the lower body, get those hips out of the way. So again, 17 degree, 166 carry, 175 total. Now for me personally, when I'm practicing, obviously I'm using TrackMan, it's great. I appreciate you guys haven't all got access to that. But if you go to the driving range, TrackMan range, Top Tracer, all give you launch angle with your iron. So find out online what your 7-iron is and be trying to get that down. But I always like to really try and exaggerate. So I've been trying to get to 15, haven't done it as yet. So I'm going to almost feel like I do it too much of what I would want to do. There we go. There's 13.3 launch, 173 carry, and 184 total. Now, I know I might get some questions there or some comments below about, well, that's great, but if I'm de-lofting my 7-iron like that, how is that going to work when I've got 4-iron, 5-iron, 6-iron in the hand? The only thing that's really going to change there is you're still going to have that feeling, but instead of the ball being very in the middle, we're actually just going to move the ball slightly forward with those clubs, but we still want that same movement. But I've got 7-iron here, so I really felt exaggerated there. Now I'll see if I can put a bit more speed into the swing to go with that movement. So not quite as low, but almost achieved my goal of being bang on half. 14.6 launch, 176 carry, and 185 total. But you can see there, a really quick win to pick up at least 20 yards was instead of having that 30-degree 7-iron, maybe turning it into 26 or 27, really trying to feel that I was getting that weight forward, de-lofting that club, striking it a little higher up the face. So when we deliver that way as well, we tend to be a bit low on the face. The middle of the trampoline is the best place to bounce. So we get that shaft lean, we get that strike. Guarantee if you can do that, you'll pick up at least 20 yards, but I'd love it if you commented below and let me know exactly how much you're picking up.